welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We're two physical therapists living the life in Las Vegas. I'm Dr. Erica.
And I'm Dr. Joe. We created this podcast for two reasons. First, to connect the healthcare, wellness, and fitness communities in Las Vegas. And second, to highlight all the amazing people we've met along the way.
Thank you for listening, and remember to take care of yourself.
Today's guest is Margaux Alvarez. She talks about training for the CrossFit Games, being on the Titan Games, and her journey as a winemaker. She describes her philosophy of work hard, wind down, and earn your grapes. One more time, let's have everyone talk into the microphone for a few sentences.
Mic check, mic check. Meow, 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 meow.
Welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. So, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Margaux Alvarez, and I am a winepreneur, winemaker, a fitness coach, and Las Vegas local.
Very good. That's quite a lot.
I feel like I was more than I want to put in there. I was like, I'll pull it back a little bit.
That's fine. I'm sure we'll get to it. So what brought you to Las Vegas?
So I actually moved here to expand the brand and build the company, wine company, and get into distribution. So that moved here in June of 2018. Wanted to get into distribution, and we knew that Vegas was going to be a unique spot where a lot of people would come here and visit. At the time, about 50 million people were projected to visit here 18 into 2019. And so we thought, well, this is a great spot for people to try the wine, see my company, see the brand, and then take it home with them and hopefully share with their family and friends so we can eventually grow nationwide and eventually international. So Vegas, when we first moved here, didn't really know what to anticipate, but it's been an amazing community. I love it. It's like a big city, but also a small town in a sense. And I think people that live here, they understand that people that maybe aren't here, they're like, what do they mean? Because you have a huge strip where tons of people visit, but then you have the community off the strip where everyone's kind of interconnected. You know everyone. So it's been an amazing place. I love it.
That's a good way of putting that it's a big city, but also a small town, because it's amazing how many people know each other. As we've been getting more into the fitness community out here,
Yep.
I'm sometimes really surprised at some of the people that know each other. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know that guy too? You know Tom? He's kind of weird, huh? And they're like, yeah. But yeah, no, that's cool. So you mentioned that your wine. What's the name of your wine company?
So it's called the GOAT, the greatest of all time wine. So we have that wine, then we have two other labels, Cheerston, which was named after my sister and in memory of her, and then L'Avignon, which is winemaker in French. And so our whole message is work hard, wind down. So you work hard in the gym, career, school, family. At the end of the day, you enjoy a glass or a bottle, depending on the type of day it was, with yourself or with friends. And a whole message is to embrace the struggles, celebrate the successes, be patient, and enjoy the journey. And I've talked a lot about that within the fitness realm with competing in CrossFit over the past 8-9 years. And I wanted to blend, no pun intended, the fitness and the wine together to be able to kind of share that with people. And I think sharing that message with people, I look at the winemaking and like the wine process, and then you look at like time in the gym or building a career, going to school. It's a lot of time and energy put into it, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of things that maybe you don't think about. Like when you do the winemaking process, you have to crush the grapes, you need to let them ferment, you need to eventually press them, bottle them, age them, and that's a multi-year process. Same thing with getting your degree or going to school or trying to compete and get to the games. It's a multi-year process typically to get there. Sometimes it's a little bit faster, but there's a lot of intricacies that go into it. And I think kind of packaging those two, blending those two together to share with people was to just say, hey, let me showcase to everyone that you can work hard and you still can enjoy a glass of wine, even if you're competing or even if you're working towards your career or second degree or whatever it might be.
You have a very wide array of things that you've done in your career. So let's talk about how you got into wine.
So I've done home production wine for a good number of years. I love the process. I love physically pulling the grapes through the vine or cutting the grapes off the vines. I love pulling the barrels through the sand, 600-pound barrels, whatever it might be. I like that physical labor. I like getting my hands dirty. And doing that for a handful of years, I was like, all right, well, this is hard labor. I like it. But if I can package it, if I can sell the wine to people and share my message, how can I do that? So pulling off of my home production experience was great, but then it's like launching into that, it's a lot more different because now it's like, now we need to create a business. Now we need to get licensing. Now we need to be able to get the grapes to the location where we can crush them. And like we talked about earlier, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So it's like, how do I want to launch this? And I was competing at the time with CrossFit full time. So trying to manage my time with competing, training, being ready for competition, but then also making sure I'm getting the grapes to where I need to do the facility wise to custom crush it. I need to make sure I get the licensing, the paperwork all. And I think I kind of went off tangent from what the question was, but there's a lot of moving pieces. And it's like, to start, it was like, all right, I have this basic knowledge of what I need to do to get the wine. But now it's like, now I got to integrate how to run a business. What do I need to get up licensing wise to get the business going? So it was a lot of components and a lot of different, I'm trying to like think back all aspects that I needed to have for that. But being able to get them all together is kind of like shuffling papers and then organizing them, having them like straight, even sides. It took a lot, but then I was able to do that within less than a year time frame to launch in 2017.
So from conception, the idea of the wine company to launch was only a year?
Was about a year, yeah. So we talked a little bit about it end of 2000. When I say we's, my husband Alex and I, so we talked about it like end of 2015, kind of like, all right, I placed 9th at the games. I finished top 10. You know, I want to win it. So like, you know, what can I do to win it? But then at the same time, what do I do then? Like once I'm done competing, because I know I wasn't going to compete forever, what am I going to do after that? And so we talked about, you know, like, what do I need to figure out? And so it was kind of a talk and discussion. But then as 2016 rolled around, it was like, all right, well, no, I think we can start a wine company. We can start this business. And so I would say early 2016 we launched July of 17 at the game. So it was like a little over a year. So crushed it. Like 18 months maybe. No, again, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But I think it was just like in my mindset, I think that's who I've been. I gravitate towards challenging situations and whether something's physically possible or impossible. I was like, well, I won't know till I try. When I said I wanted to compete at the games, people are like, okay, sure, whatever. Like they didn't really believe me. Not everyone, some people didn't believe me, but people that were in the community and were supportive, like, you can, yeah, awesome, we'll support you. So I think it's like, it seemed impossible. Like people told me, oh yeah, I started a wine company. They're like, you're crazy, right? I'm like, maybe I'm a little crazy, but yeah. So we made it happen. And I think time frame was, I mean, it took about 5.5 months to get the license, and you have to have your wine license, federal and state, before you can do anything, bottling, editing, et cetera. So doing all that within a certain amount of time frame, also trying to compete and get ready for the open, the regionals, and then the games was like, I'm going crazy in my mind because there's so many things going on, but I'm like, I didn't give myself an option to not. And I looked back even 4, 6, 8 months after we got the license and competing and made it to the games in 2017. I was like, wow, we did all that. I should probably like celebrate. I should probably like give myself a pat in the back or something like that. I should probably enjoy this success. And I think it's hard because we get typical into, you know, what's the next goal? Whether it's business, competing, whatever it might be, it's like, what's the next? You constantly pushing the envelope, which is good because we want to continue to push ourselves. But then, like, did you even celebrate the success, that all the hard work that you just put in? You should, because not all those successes are going to come every single day or every single year. So just trying to celebrate that and be in that moment was kind of a reminder, like, all right, this is what I'm preaching and sharing with people. I need to make sure I'm doing it myself.
I think that helps too, to appreciate things better and then to realize what you're actually working for. Because if you never celebrate any kind of positive moment, then it's just, you're only working all the time. But if every once in a while you think back and think, hey, I'm actually happy that worked out that way. You know, that felt like that was good. I'm going to keep pursuing that.
100%.
So how did you, so when you're training for the games, like how do you even know how to start that as a process? So do you find a coach? Do you find other people that are competing in the games? You're like, hey, I need to hang out with you and see how this works. Like, how did you approach that? Yeah,
so when I first saw it, I remember seeing Katie Hogan, Becca Voigt, and Chris Clever at the 2011 regionals in SoCal. That's when California was 2 regions. And I saw them and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like I was like this little kid in a candy shop, like, yeah, I want to try that. And then I told friends, like, yeah, you should totally do it. Like people that I thought were supportive was like, yeah, you should totally go for that. You should try to want to be there. I was like, all right, cool. So I was working a full-time marketing job. So I would just do what I need to do. I would train in the morning and then try to run in the afternoon or vice versa. And then eventually I was like, I went to the games a month later in July and saw the athletes at the games. I was like, I want to do that. So I was like, all right, cool. My company I was working for, I was a marketing coordinator there. They were moving to the East Coast. So like, cool, we got to this offer. We can move to the East Coast. And I was like, oh, well, if I go to the East Coast, I could like find a gym, could train, like do what I need to do. Then I was like, why would I relocate halfway across the country for this when I'm already here and I could possibly build upon it? So I decided to say no. I got like a 3-month extension to help the next person come in and pretty much said no to a full-time job, no to benefits, no to all this stuff. And decided to pursue personal training and becoming a CrossFit coach. And when I did that, I think some people were like, you're going to say no to all this guaranteed stuff, or maybe even a possibility of getting to the games or a sliver of this. I was like, yeah, why not? I won't know until I try. And so when I saw that, I was like, all right, now I'm getting rid of my job. I can now coach as my job, coached at 2 jobs or 2 gyms. And then I would try to drive around as many different gyms to learn as much as I could. Ask for some guidance at one gym, didn't necessarily get the feedback and support. So I was like, all right, well, let me figure out how I can get more information. So I would drive and train at 3 different gyms, trying to learn powerlifting, trying to learn strength training, or trying to learn Olympic lifting, and then trying to increase my capacity through CrossFit in terms of metabolic conditioning. And then later that year, I ended up meeting Alex, and I can profess my love to CrossFit to him. And he's like, yeah, cool. Like, you're going to go to the games? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to the games. Like, Kool-Aid drinking Margaux for sure. But he was like, yeah, I go to every 2. Like, I go and watch from the stands and like watch people compete.
I was already meant when he thought you said I'm going to the games. He's like, yeah, I'm going too. You can sit next to each other if you want.
Exactly. But I was just, again, like a little crazy, but I was so adamant about doing it. He's like, all right, cool. And like, he like started helping me a little bit in terms of coaching. So we'll circle back to your question, like, where do you start? Definitely having a coach for guidance, but it's like making sure you're in a supportive environment that's going to be conducive to you. Meaning, if you're in an environment that doesn't believe in you, that doesn't encourage you, doesn't support you, it's going to be very hard to get to your goals, whether it's competing at the games or anywhere else. And through his guidance and through his coaching, like, and believing in me, I was able to, started coaching and programming for me, but I had to say no to a lot of things to say yes to the time training. Slowly over time, over the year from 2011 to 2012, started training more, cutting back on coaching, trying to put myself in a very positive environment, because the environment that I was at wasn't necessarily the best conducive to support, we'll say that. And so I learned a lot that first year, made it to the regionals, competed 2012, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to go to the games. But it's like, realistically, like, I barely got muscle up. It's probably not going to get to the games. But that belief and that confidence, I think, is huge. And I think that can carry over to anyone else in any business, any industry, whatever it is. I was just talking to my sister about it the other day, too. Confidence is huge. Even if you're not 100% guaranteed, having that confidence in yourself will bleed over into other things. And so, again, long story short, and just went on a huge tangent, but having a coach, having a supportive environment, and being realistic with your goals, but also having a huge belief in yourself and knowing, hey, this is what I want. Cool, go for it. But you got to make sure you're putting everything into it. Because if you're like leaving one foot out, you're like, kind of want to get in, but I kind of don't want to, then it's like you're going to have that exit strategy and you're never going to fully commit.
I think it's good advice for a lot of things, because whenever you do something that's scary, it's almost like you want to do half of an attempt of it, or you're like, I want to have like this safe plan over here. When sometimes that is why you might fail with it. You just don't fully commit to it. It's tough.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You guys know.
I'm listening to this. And I'm like, wow, I need to do all of this in my life right now.
Yeah, and it's like a thing you kind of have to constantly check in and remind, because like, I think back, that's like, it's almost been 10 years, and it's crazy. I'm like, 10 years? I'm like, feels like it's 2008 still. But I think it's a constant kind of like, let's check in again. Like, where are you at? Are you still in a good environment? Are you still around people that are supporting? Do I need to like reevaluate things? Do I need to let go of things? Do I need to say no to things so I can say yes to things, and vice versa?
If we look back in the last 10 years of what you've done, a list of accomplishments, we can probably write huge chapters in books. Because I feel like you've done just so much. And that comes from, I think, your willingness to try different things and accept coaching and being open to things. Because if you went out around 3 different gyms trying to learn how to do powerlifting and Olympic lifting and doing that, and I think that's just like being willing to take that feedback and continuing to grow. Like probably this has just snowballed into other things in your life. So you've done the CrossFit Games and you've competed in that. Tell us a little bit more about your athletic career.
So like athletic overall?
Yeah.
So way back when, no, just kidding. I just think back to when I first started being active. My mom got me into a lot of different sports, taekwondo, horseback riding, ballet. So I was always active from the beginning. I really wanted, as I got older, my parents were like, hey, like if you want to get good at something, you have to kind of pick something or pick a couple to get good at, versus like, I want to do them all. I'm like, you can, but if I want to improve, I'm like, all right, which 2 do I pick? So I decided I'm focusing on volleyball and golf. So I did golf for over 10 years, from like 8 to about 18. Volleyball, I loved volleyball. That was junior high and high school. And then once I finished high school, I was like, all right, well, I would love to go do volleyball, I'd love to go do golf too, but I was like, depending on where I go and what I want to do. I got invited to like an international tournament right after high school in Australia, and they picked the top 2 in the state, female and male. So I got selected for that. And I found out later that I got selected for both volleyball and golf. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do both. And like, you can't. You got to pick one. I was like,
Just flip a coin.
yeah, flip a coin. So it's tough. And I was like, man, I was like, really want to do volleyball. But I was like, I know golf is, I think I was maybe pulled to golf a little bit more because it's like in terms of the women versus men in sport versus volleyball, I think maybe that had something to play. I mean, I love the golf, and I think maybe I was drawn to it subconsciously because I think golf has huge mental benefits in terms of like not getting frustrated by one shot or one hole because you got 18 holes or you got 36 holes you got to play, and knowing like, hey, if you lose your crap on one hole and you get mentally flustered and now you have to deal with that for the rest of the holes, rest of the shots. So it's like, I think I learned a lot mentally to stay calm, be patient. That led into a lot of other things. And I think that's where I decided, all right, I'll do golf. Anyway, so did that. Great experience. Got to play in Australia. Met a lot of cool people. Created some like really awesome friendships and experiences. Going into university, I wanted to try to do golf. There was no golf team. There was going to be possibly a golf team. Never got started. So I was like, all right, well, let me try volleyball. You're too short. You're 5'7". We already have our defense selected. So, maybe you can come as a walk-on, but that didn't actually formulate. So I decided to focus on study abroad. Did my own little fitness scene, working on the gym, running a lot. And then when I graduated from there, I decided to move to the Bay Area and did personal training. I loved health and fitness. I wanted to help people with health and fitness. That's when I found CrossFit in 2011 and just like literally poured everything into there. Getting to compete at CrossFit for 7 years in a row, 6 as an individual and 1 as a team was an awesome experience. I loved it. A lot of time and a lot of focus went to that. And as I did that, I was like, all right, I love this, but I want to evolve. I want to spend more time in the business. And as that shift, I like to think doors open and close at certain times in your life. Things don't happen for a reason, given the scenario and what it is. But deciding to like not compete on that in CrossFit anymore, shift more time and focus on the business, an opportunity came to compete in American Ninja Warrior simultaneously. Then also after that, the Titan Games. So that was really cool because it's like, that's a TV show. Obviously, it's a TV show first and then kind of competition after that. But it was cool to kind of see behind the scenes of a TV realm and how that works. But Titan Games was awesome. That was a really cool experience. And getting to compete in that, we actually filmed that almost a year ago now, which is crazy. That was really cool because it's like competition, but now I'm able to share my message and share the experience that I went through and hopefully inspire others out there on a different platform, a bigger platform. And that was something when I talked to Dwayne about. He wanted to create the platform where it was able to bring in other individuals that have gone through hardship, maybe had loss in their life at different levels, and were able to share their story or how they were able to persevere forward. He wanted to create this platform for other people that could share that around the world. And I was like, man, like that's amazing. That's incredible. So to be able to have the opportunity to be on there, to talk to him, meet him, and obviously his father had passed away recently. That when we filmed, it was like a couple weeks before. So like connecting and being able to, not that we want to share that experience, like my sister passing, his father passing, but being able to connect on that and understand like, hey, there are going to be situations in life unexpectedly that happen. Some might be planned if it's someone that's elder in your life, but have that unexpected come in your life and you're like, how do I deal with that? How do I manage that? How do I come out on top versus going down to a deep, dark place and not being able to pull yourself out? And so being able to share that with him and then hopefully share with other people was a really cool experience. And I was like, man, like, even though I know 2020 was a shit of a year, excuse my language, a crap of a year, and having a lot of people deal with a lot of things, I think there was some things where we can sit and pause and be like, all right, what was a positive that I can pull out of that? What was something that I can look and say, hey, like, that was a great thing, being able to have that opportunity.
For sure. Is The Rock as cool in real life as a
yes.
on TV?
Yes. A lot of people ask me that. He's very down to earth. He has a lot of things going on, pulled in many directions, but definitely down to earth and super cool.
Did he do any competitions with you guys too, like running up and down some of these things?
No, we didn't.
He like demos the course first.
Yeah, no, it would have been cool to like work out together, like or like I know I was like, hey, let's drink some wine and tequila. He's like, yeah. I was like, cool. So I'm saving that for the future.
Okay. Very cool. You used to teach for CrossFit too, didn't you?
Yeah, so I taught for CrossFit for about 5.5 years, and that was awesome opportunity. Like I think being asked by Dave, like, hey, come, apply to be a seminar staff. I was like go Google it. I was like, what, really? Me? Okay. I was like, and I loved it. And I was able to go through the process and I just for me, it was being able to travel to other gyms and other facilities and to meet other people who have gone through other hardships or struggles in their life and get to connect with them and teach them about my experience and then hear about their experience. It was awesome. And I know one lady that really stuck out to me was she just wanted to, learn and get active and be healthy so that she could like pick up her groceries and not think they're heavy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to try not to cry right now. I was like, ooh, and like pick up her grandkids too. Like she wants to be able to play around with them. And I think it was just having the opportunity to go around and teach, with other amazing trainers, and I made lifelong friendships with these individuals that it's like they're good friends, and we still keep in touch now. Even though we're not working together, we're still friends, and we still are able to connect. That was really cool, and being able to travel the world to reach other people in different environments was just an incredible experience.
So you said you traveled the world to teach. What's the coolest place that you went to a seminar and taught?
Ooh, that's a good question. I want to say it's tough because I've been to a lot of places within the U.S., but outside the U.S., I think being able to go to Hong Kong was really cool. Completely different environment. I've never been to Hong Kong. I got to go to Australia when I was a little after high school, so I got to return to Australia and go there again. So that was really cool. Different kind of part and area. Got to go to Canada as well. I've been to Canada a handful of times, but got to go to Red Deer, which is again that's directly above Montana. But it was a really cool experience. So I got to go actually do Mexico to Guanajuato, and that was not necessarily seminar related, but that was more within the CrossFit realm, and that was really cool. And I think I connect with it. Like my dad's from Mexico, I'm half Mexican, Spanish, and being able to get down there and connect with people and talk to people, even though my Spanish isn't fluent, being able to conversate with them in like their language, I think people really appreciate that. They're like, oh man, like it's like super. I have a really gringa accent, like you can totally tell it's not my first language, but like being able to like, I don't know why, but I just really thrive and like my heart blooms or blossoms because of that, and like just getting to meet so many awesome people down there and see how passionate they are about something or how it's changed their life. I'm like, man, like that's so rad. So just being able to travel and like connect through something, I think was really incredible.
What about favorite places in the U.S. to travel to when you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Man, I'm trying to think of all the places. I loved going to Texas. Texas was really cool. Even though I lived in El Paso for a year, getting to go to like Austin and Dallas was rad. Utah, even though again I lived in Utah, but getting to go to Park City. I had a good group of friends that like I worked with in the first few seminars. Once I was on staff, it was these three guys. They were all kind of like from Park City. And just getting to work with them and seeing how they all work together, it was just a fun, lively environment where like you're joking, but you're working, like you're being serious. We want to make sure we're giving you good feedback. But I was just like, man, like there's some really rad people. But so I think that Utah was always a cool spot to like go and have the opportunity to work with them.
When you work with a group of people with a common goal, man, there's just nothing like when you could joke about people but still be serious. I think those friendships are just lifelong.
Totally.
Like, I did a training like a athletic training internship, and I still have those friends, and we are constantly making fun of each other.
Yeah.
And like certain things that you do, but obviously you're professional.
Totally.
When you're doing your work, but if you can have a good time, that's like the relationships that you can make from that.
100%. And I think you can find that, then like it's like, oh man, not that you're not lucky, but it's like you're grateful for that.
So it's also like when we went to PT school, some of the funniest people I've ever been around were in that class.
Yeah.
And I've been to school multiple times for different things. So going to PT school and then being around that group of individuals, and we started with like 40 people in the class. Pretty much everybody in the class was funny to the point that they can make you laugh, except for maybe like a handful of people. So you could be put in any kind of group, and then like this is your hospital group, and you go with them.
Yeah.
And there'd be people in the group that would just be making you laugh the whole time.
That's awesome.
It was a crazy experience.
Wow, what's something that you commonly see and you wish more people knew about?
Commonly see, but I wish more people knew about.
And this can be in fitness, it can be in wine, it can be in business, it can.
Oh man, it's tough because I want to think like, I feel like patience in a lot of things. Like people, I think like everyone commonly knows about patience, but doesn't really think or apply it. We're so eager to have the next best thing, or they're so quick to have some like I want this now. Like I think it's part of our society too, you know, like, oh, my phone's broken, I can get a new one. My car's broken, I can get a new one. And I think patience and being able to really sit and like listen. Because I think, I just think and like, I think of not only what I've learned within the fitness realm, but also business realm as well, is like, let me have patience with what I'm doing versus trying to like just get something out or move through something quickly. But then also think of being able to listen and conversate with individuals where it's like maybe we take that for granted a little bit. I know it sounds kind of weird. It's a little different, maybe not the answer you think you'd get.
No, definitely. Like with especially with what we're going through with this year is, when's the last time that everybody can have a group of people and have a conversation and just
In
enjoy,
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
and enjoy
Yeah.
that the natural ebb and flow of what you would do, like at a seminar,
Mm-hmm.
for example. It's a Zoom seminar is very different.
So different.
Than your in person. Like,
So different.
when you take a break, everyone kind of chit chats and
Mm-hmm.
go to the bathroom. Even just make a comment with someone when you're like washing your hands.
Yeah.
That's different, and
Totally.
you get to make those kinds of friendships just by talking to people. Like, oh yeah, nice hand washing.
Yeah.
It's like like
Exactly.
you wash your hands too. Like,
and
and then that
you
just
didn't use the soap in there.
yeah,
I go eat their food when they go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Grab their
Hey
food
man, I
real quick.
I take a bite of your celery.
Yeah,
No,
that's a good sandwich you got
Yeah.
there.
That's really funny. No, it's fun. I think back to I just think back to some of the seminars, and I think back to one like some of the guys that I was mentioning with seminar staff. It was Eric and Doug, and even Chris. Sometimes that we all work together, but they would kind of make jokes and fun because I always had English muffins, and so like he'd always be like, oh, like is there a gluten English muffin over there? Like how much you eat today? 2 or 3, and it makes me laugh because it's like I love my English muffins, I love my gluten, but it's just funny because like you can't really get that like on a Zoom or like via other platforms. It's like that in-person experience, and obviously yes, I understand and aware of the situation. Like things are hopefully going to open back up and we have larger gatherings, especially with Vegas where we thrive on tourism here in this industry with our city here. But that in-person connection and that human connection I think is imperative. We're humans, we love congregating or coming together. Not everyone likes to be around tons of people, but I'm not saying tons of people, even like a group of 5 or a group of 10, but just having that interpersonal communication, and that I think we all thrive off that energy. We feed off of that. Like, why do humans congregate to cities? Why do we have cities? Like, it's people want to have a tribe. They want to have a place that they're going to go to, So it's just, it's something that it's hard to replace, and so I really love that.
Let's talk about your English muffins. What do you put on these English muffins?
So I love the Thomas English muffins, the one with cinnamon raisins already in it.
Okay.
Amazing. I'll either put like a little bit of butter on them, and like I'll toast them, put some butter on it, or I'll do like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on an English muffin. And I don't know why, but I think the peanut butter and jelly on an English muffin is better than a peanut butter and jelly on regular bread. People might be like, you're a hater. I hate English muffins. I personally love peanut butter and jelly on an English muffin, like
Toasted or
toasted. Yeah, okay. If I can toast it. When you toast it, it actually warms the peanut butter. So when you have it, it's a little more like melted, which is good. But if you're traveling and you're on the road, I definitely recommend a couple napkins because that stuff's gonna drip.
I like how you said with the raisins and cinnamon already in it, because it is harder to put that in if they didn't already do it for you.
Yeah. Well, because you get the ones already like pre-made, and like there might be a little more carbs, a little more sugar in it, but I'm like, like I'm working out, it's
Tucking
fine.
those raisins in there.
Exactly. I kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, I really would love if someone got a regular English muffin, like cut it open, put a little dash of cinnamon, got some raisins, put it in there.
Smashed them in there.
Yeah. They were like, doesn't taste as good, and it won't taste as good.
Yeah. That's the non-hand washer you're just talking about. You'll know when they made your English muffin for you.
Yeah.
So speaking
funny.
of that, what is your favorite cheat meal?
It's funny because I get this question a lot, and I'm like, I don't ever really like cheat. Like I'm like, if I want a hamburger or a cheeseburger, I'll go for it. I think now that I think about it, I think it'd be like waffles, because I don't ever like always get waffles, because like usually if I go get breakfast, if I get waffles, I'm like, yummy. I eat all this with my cinnamon raisins. I eat all this with like my powdered sugar and like syrup. But then an hour later, I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of full, but I'm not. But like I have a sugar dump right now. So I think waffles would probably be my jam. That or French toast. Because if I'm gonna have a hamburger, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a hamburger, yummy, for dinner. I don't think of it as a cheat meal, which is interesting. I think some people consider that a cheat meal. Everyone's different.
I agree.
And I think it's tough because like when I was training and competing 6 to 8 hours a day, I'm like, if I wanted ice cream, if I wanted donuts, I'll go for it. But now I'm like, I'm not training 6 to 8 hours a day. I probably should cut back on the amount of carbs I'm eating. I mean, my goal is to eat 300 to 350 grams of carbs every day. And that was hard. So I'm like, if I want dessert, then I go for it because my body's craving the energy. So now it's like, all right, either waffles, French toast, or maybe donuts. I love me some donuts. The pink block donuts here.
Oh, man.
So good. Yeah. The dough crows or cronuts, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it's cronuts everywhere else, but here they're called dough crows.
Yeah.
I could eat 6 of those, and I have at one point.
Those are actually really good. I like those a lot. So have you ever had Waffle House before?
I have had Waffle House, and from what I remember, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. I don't think I got waffles though when I was at the Waffle House. What? I know. I think it's because I think the Waffle House I went to was
You didn't get the fish, did you? That's not what you got there for.
No, I think I got eggs and bacon and like grits.
Good.
I think because the one I went to was in Atlanta, Georgia, or outside Atlanta, like south of Atlanta, and it was for the filming of the Titan Games. We went to Waffle House because I was like the kind of only thing that was open. But I went there, and I don't think I might have gotten like a waffle, but it was like, I think it was just like eggs and bacon because I was going to have to compete or I'm going to have to film later. So I'm like, let me get something that's not going to sit in my stomach as like a bowling ball.
Right. Next time you go back, you'll have to definitely try waffle.
Yes,
Waffle
I'll
House.
definitely have to like.
So you spoke of some patience. Do you practice that when you're hanging out with your dog? So you hold the
Oh my gosh,
the
yes,
treats
with
out?
entropy, yeah. So Alex done a great job of training her. I'll do patience with her food. So like I'll get her food ready and have her sit there and like wait. I've tried the treats on her nose, and she does kind of good, but she'll like move really well. But I'm trying to get her to sit. I've tried like the tennis ball on top of her kind of her forehead a little bit, and a couple times she's like, "I'll wait," but like it's not stable because the ball is like a ball, so like it doesn't have like a flat side.
Yeah.
So it won't stay too long. But I feel like I should try a little bit more with like the dog treats we have for her.
Do you actually can stick on her nose and she'll wait for it or no?
Like a half of a second, maybe a second the most. So we're trying to increase the longevity of that because she's a month and 8 months now, I think, almost 9. So she's still kind of a puppy, and I think she'll be a puppy for a couple more years. Her energy's like, squirrel, where do I go next? So trying to get her to increase her patience there. Good question. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, not for me. I'd be like, is it a donut? Do I just wait for it?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
kidding.
You have to try Velcro and see if that
Exactly,
helps her
right?
nose.
That's funny.
One of our friends' dogs has an amazing ability to have him like focus. So she'll put the food out and you can't break the eye contact. If
Really?
you could teach her that would be awesome.
That'd be amazing. I feel like I need patience for that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Like
And
she'll put the food and you'll look and she'll lock eyes and like you'll put it and you like focus and then he'll look away and like try to look at the food, but
You're focused on me.
yeah, like
That's
you have
funny.
to make the eye contact.
and that's one of the most food-driven dogs I've ever seen. Like, you know, some
Really?
dogs like toys, some dogs like people, some dogs like food, and some of them, it's like food is the only thing that matters. Like, you can have a toy and a tiny treat, and then they will go for the treat.
Ooh,
every
yeah,
time.
I think she would totally go for the treat because like there's a couple times where like we have treats and then balls, and she's like, "Which one do I go? Okay, treat."
Yeah. I love it when dogs are food focused. I know a lot of people that are food focused too. I myself am as well. So
You say food? Okay.
yeah, exactly. I'm on the seafood diet. Somebody was telling me the other day, like, whatever you see, you eat.
Oh, yeah.
My friends just telling me that. It's like, oh, it's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's funny. It makes me think when I was little, my sister's like, "You like seafood?" I'd be like, "What?" She's like, "Blah," and then open her mouth with all the food. It's like seafood. I was like, "Oh my god."
That's like my second favorite kind of seafood. I like the other
right.
one better.
Exactly. Defer to the first.
So we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
So we talked a little bit earlier, but a lot of home production wine. Planted some grapes in 2011 on our property to keep the agricultural aspect. Planted those grapes, came back every year to harvest. Loved it. Couldn't commit to like the entire time because I was working, coaching, making a living in another place. But then upon that, I would try to spend more and more time. Alex and I would go back, try to spend more time harvesting, doing the process, kind of fine tuning what we were learning. And like we were just talking about, I love the physical labor of it. I love all that. And then transitioning that, like, all right, how do we get this into the business? Like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of logistics and pieces that kind of went into it, and trying to not finagle, but like fine tune all that while working and competing for the games was tough because we're trying to figure out logistics. And within the alcohol industry, it's typically like a 3-tiered process where you have, if you're trying to sell within a state, and our goal was to launch it 2017, the games in Madison, Wisconsin. We needed to find a 3-tier. It's a 3-tier process, meaning I need to find a distributor that would purchase the wine, and the distributor would then sell it to the retail store or location that's going to have the wine on site to be in Madison. So it's not just like, hey, you want some wine? Cool, I'll just give it to you. Because alcohol, there's a lot more processes and licenses that goes involved. So we were trying to figure out and find a distributor that'd be interested in doing it. And luckily, we were able to work with a distributor in Wisconsin to be able to bring it to Madison, Wisconsin, which is where we launched. So I know we kind of deviated a little bit from how I got into winemaking, but that was kind of the process and start of it. Slowly, as we started to really realize, a lot of it came down to, now you're in the wine industry. Holy crap, it's saturated. There's so many other companies and brands out there. I mean, hundreds of thousands of brands out there. And it's like, how do we kind of break or pierce that veil into that industry? How do we break, or what is our barrier to entry in there? And so for us, it's like, well, we're going to go about it a little differently. We're not just going to open a wine shop. We're not just going to get a wine tasting room and sell from there. We didn't necessarily have a physical tasting spot, so we decided to launch at the fitness festival, the CrossFit Games, in the middle of the summer, which again might be a little different, right? Trying to drink red wine in the hot summer might be a little hard for some people. Still enjoyable, but again, I was like, my thought process was like, let me bring this to my community, the following that I have. The individuals have been super supportive of me, and share it with people. And so we ended up doing a wine tasting Thursday night after one of the events to showcase with people. And I had some other individuals, some friends, Dan, China Cho, come and do this tasting with us to share. And we sold out like within an hour, which was awesome and super incredible. But I was like, all right, well, there is interest now with the wine. We sell it there. We do this event. Awesome. Now what do we do from there? So we focus on DDC, direct to consumer, via our online platform, the website. Focused on that. As we were learning, it's very hard to sell because a lot of people that haven't tried the wine are like, well, why do I want to buy wine that I've never tried? And I'm going to have to wait a couple days for it versus I can go to the store and try it, or I can go to a wine and try, or a bar and try it, and then go to the store after it and buy it. So our biggest thing was building relationships and building community, not only within the fitness realm, but also everywhere we went. And after that first year of selling, we're like, all right, well, to grow more, we need to try to work and to get into distribution. Meaning, if I want to sell in retail shops, if I want to sell by the glass or by the bottle at a restaurant or a wine shop, we need to get that channel. And so that's what the move to Vegas sparked. Moved here, connected with an amazing master somm, Jason Smith, actually, and he's probably, him and James Betts are the kind of the only two individuals, not the only two, but that was our barrier to entry. And those were the two people that were like, yes, we'll bring you in. It was like the clouds partying, this like birds chirping. It was like, oh my gosh. And we reached out to multiple individuals, over 30 people within the Vegas area, to get the wine in. And Jason was like, yeah, sure. He was the only one who responded to meet up. Amazing, awesome guy, super down to earth, super talented, super knowledgeable. And if it wasn't for him and James, we wouldn't be here. So, yeah.
We just had Bets on the show the other day.
Yeah, which, I mean, James is awesome. We actually went clay pigeon shooting a couple weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago. But super awesome. He was super kind to obviously bring it in, but we had a discussion and talked. It's like, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. It's like, I'm not just going to bring you in because you're just another wine company. There's something more too. And that's something we really wanted to establish. We wanted to create a unique relationship. We wanted to build upon the relationships we had and expand on that. And that was something that when I go to talk to different owners of a restaurant or a wine shop, I want to build those relationships. I don't just be like, say, hey, here's my product. No, I want to come foster that relationship, because if I help you, then you can help me, and vice versa. And I think it's a lot about relationships, and even in Vegas in the industry, it's a lot about relationships. And it's like, if you are really willing to invest time and energy. And so that was our focus once we got here, get into the distribution. Once we got in, then we slowly started working with different restaurants. So being able to get into Searsucker and Caesars was incredible. Getting to get into the Foundation Room at Mandalay Bay. So slowly we were able to add restaurants, getting into Ambra at MGM, another awesome place. And then we just got into Barry's downtown Prime at Circa in the downtown area. So it's like we were able to start to, over the past couple of years, add more locations, got into a lot of local wine shops. So like Corey's, which is in Henderson, Top Shelf, which is kind of southwest area, kind of by Culmination South. Get into Valley Cheese and Wine, Total Wine, Roy's, which is like off of Hualapai. So being able to get into all these locations, like, man, like now the momentum's coming. I'm like, all right, cool. Like I want to continue to do in-person events. Granted, this past year had to kind of cut back a little bit because of situations and circumstances, but being able to foster these relationships and grow, say, hey, like how can we help other local communities, especially small businesses, especially this past year. But it's that persistence to continue to push and like build upon. And again, in my mind, people be like, oh, you're a little crazy. I'm like, maybe, yes. But if I want something to grow, I need to be able to put the hard work into it. So I need to do X, Y, Z to get into there. And that has yielded me being persistent with getting into Montana and getting to Colorado. So being able to have distribution in 2 other states outside of Nevada, that's awesome. And again, let me stop and like, yay, nice job, Margaux. Because I don't do that. It's hard.
Well, sometimes too, you don't realize how much you've done until you probably like go to a restaurant and be like, oh my God, this is mine.
Guys,
like sometimes,
guys, I made this.
Sometimes,
my mine.
sometimes I feel like you would look at that and be like, wow, like that's me.
Yeah.
Like I've created that. And not only that,
Exactly.
but seeing people wearing your clothing items too. I think we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but let's talk about your apparel as well.
So our whole kind of message is like the work hard, wind down, train, recover, drink wine. And so we started doing some apparel off of that. And then the AM, midday, PM shirts, which for those that don't know, it's the AM is like the coffee, a little emoji, and the PM is like a weights, a workout, fitness time, and then PM is a wine, like a wine glass and a wine bottle. And so that kind of revolves around the whole methodology, like AM, midday, PM. You work, you get some fitness, you wind down for the day. And so we're working on some new apparel coming forward, but we want to just embody that as kind of like, hey, this is our lifestyle. Let's share it. And for everyone that's been supportive and like representing that and like embody that too, like that's awesome. Like so thankful for everyone that's been supportive over the years, not only recently, but whatever, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, family and people that have come recently. It's just been, I'm so thankful and so grateful for all the support that they've offered. But it's like, well, I want to show like, hey, this is our lifestyle. And so the AM, midday, PM, I think have been the most popular because it's emoji and it's kind of fun. It's like, oh, I love that shirt. And I've had some like random people, like mainly women, they're like, oh my God, I love that shirt. That's totally my life. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah, me too. You can get one here.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to our website. No. But it's cool to see, I think. And again, it's the tough thing within not only the wine industry, but any brand, and you guys might be able to speak about this too, is like just visibility, right? Like being able to get your name, your company, your brand, your business out there is tough because there's so many other individuals or companies kind of fighting for that time and attention. And Alex has given a good analogy where it's like, kind of the online market's like this $2 billion flea market, and you have like this person over here and this person over here, and like we're way in the back and we're like, come over here, try our wine, and it's tough because you want people to see you, but you have to be creative and innovative and be able to offer, like, I'm not just saying, hey, here's my product, but like, let's create this memory together. Let's create this moment together where it's like, it's not just about the wine, but it's about the experience together. And that's why I think I love the in-person events, being able to do yoga and wine nights, like share my story, tell them how I started and, where I was and where I'm at now and where I want to go, but also share that experience for people. And it's something that I think a lot of people, especially now where you maybe took those things for granted. We're like, oh my gosh, like we were talking about earlier, like I can't wait to sit in a group of 10 people and hang out and drink wine and like share stories or whatever. And I think really cherishing that and seeing the value in that is important. That's something we're to continue to showcase with people.
First, I do want to say how soft that shirt is. So
You're awesome.
Awesome. It's an awesome shirt. You should check out the website. But
You're so
secondly,
easy.
And for guys too, I have one.
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Eric and I
Men
don't
and
share
women.
it.
Yeah.
So we each have
I'll
one.
get you guys some more.
but
We'll get some
secondly,
men's tanks when we get them out.
Excellent.
oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Some muscle tanks.
I'll
Yes.
work on
Like
this
it.
farmer's tan.
But secondly is you mentioned where you want to go. So tell us about where you're going.
Yeah, so obviously to grow, we want to be able to grow and expand the company business. We want to increase production to 15,000 cases and then even more. I want to be able to share my story with more individuals. I want to be able to share my experience with other people out there and come together. I also want to showcase other individuals and other businesses, other entrepreneurs that are also crushing it out there and going after their goals. Because I think there's a lot of unique individuals that have incredible stories and have accomplished a lot of things, but maybe they haven't been heard. And so being able to highlight them, whether that's through videos or articles or in-person events and having special guests, I think it's really imperative and important to be able to showcase other people. I think maybe not everyone likes that, but for me, that's like, I want to share other incredible people that have had an impact on my life or have had changed my life in some way or form or fashion. And meeting you two and being able to, like, you guys have helped me so much in the physical realm, not only with PT, but also like just overall wellness. And I think a lot of people, to be able to give back and like help you guys in any form and fashion, like that's what I want to be able to do, because I want to be able to showcase other amazing people, not only in the Vegas area, but other individuals. We got to interview Michelle Kern, who's a fighter pilot. Amazing story. And it's like, I want to showcase what she's done, because like, yes, she's reached so many people, but how can I help her reach other people and showcase what she's done? I think she's been a beacon for a lot of women in terms of that realm, being a Thunderbird pilot. And it's like, man, that's badass. Like, yeah, girl, go, like, and so just again, being able to share and highlight other people that have had an impact on my life and being able to showcase not that only that in the realm of the wine, but also community and fitness and everything else, business.
So how, as far as which current wines do you sell, or which kind of varieties, and then how do you go about making those? Like, do you have specific grapes that, like, one grape becomes this bottle of wine? Do you mix them? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have 3. We specialize in blends, meaning blends are usually 2 grapes or more, 2 varietals together in a bottle. So right now we have 3. The most popular right now is the GOAT, which is the greatest of all time. And a lot of people think of sports when they think of GOAT, like football or golf, but we wanted to apply it not only to sport, but also family, mentorship, business. So maybe it's the greatest of all time mentor, or maybe your grandma's your greatest of all time. So we wanted that to be kind of universal. And that is a blend of Petit Syrah, Syrah, and Grenache. So 3 different grapes. And that, again, like most popular, that's when we got into distribution. We want to focus on blends because, one, I think blends are smoother typically, because if you have something in a grape that maybe doesn't by itself, by a single varietal, maybe doesn't necessarily stand well or doesn't last well in terms of the bottle, then mixing different varietals, mixing different grapes together, the blend's a little bit smoother and more enjoyable, especially for people that are new to drinking wine. You have more experienced wine drinkers, they're like, I like this, I like that, I don't like this. So not that we don't want to cater to just one certain group of individuals. We want to cater to everyone. But we've noticed with the wine and yoga nights, a lot of people that are new to wine, they're like, I'm like, what kind of wine you like? I like red. Or like, I like white. I'm like, cool, awesome. Let's expand. Or let's educate. Or let's share more information. But blends, I love tasting new blends because I feel like you can change the type of the wine depending on the blend. Like you could do a Cab and Merlot blend, or you could do a Syrah and Grenache blend. You could do a Tempranillo and Grenache or Graciano. Like there's so many different options out there. And so I wanted to share that people because that's what I love. The other label is Cheerston, which is also a red blend. Those are 4 different grapes in that one: Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot, Grenache, and Syrah. That label was dedicated to my sister. So the painting on that label was one of my sister's last paintings. It was called The Purple Tree, and that was dedicated to her. We changed a little bit of the name. Essentially, she shared a story with a friend of hers shared a story about my sister. The first time she met, she took her red like solo cup and was like, "Hi, my name's Cheerson." I'm like, "Cheers, Tin." And that was like, oh man, that just warmed my heart. And so being able to showcase that and kind of embody her lifestyle and her message, even though she was taken at 20 years old, I want to showcase how she lived life, and dedicate that bottle of memory to her. Again, a blend of wines and a varietal of wines in there, but again, kind of showcasing how it all blends together. And then other wines, La Vigneron. It's a blend of 2 different grapes, Zinfandel and Carniena. It's a lighter wine, but it's a picture of a winemaker, kind of the big nose. They talk about nose in wine, so like the smell, the aroma, and so we use kind of a big caricature of a wine of an individual on that to showcase for the wines when they smell it. You're like, that's the nose. Kind of making fun of it a little bit, but also making it fun because a lot of people see it and they're like, oh, that's amazing. And La Vigneron means winemaker in French. The scripture on the right on there is kind of hard to read, and people that maybe don't have any understanding of other languages like Levi, they're not able to pronounce it. So I just say, all right, this is the old man bottle, and people love that.
Definitely love it.
The old man bottle. So what is the last? Sorry.
So Zinfandel and Carniena.
Yeah, what is
Carniena? Is usually typically a little more of a spicier grape, Spanish varietal as well. Very hard to find that grape. I've looked for it. I very rarely find it unless I'm looking for maybe wines from Spain. But it typically tends to be a little bit spicier, a little bit bolder, but still super easy to drink. So the Zin that we have and the Carniena, they're younger grapes, so it's a light. You can actually see through the wine when you have it in your glass. Has like kind of like a tart apple and cherry taste because of the Zin, and it has a little bit of spice because of that Carniena. It's about 50-50 on that. So if you have like meaning 50% Zin, 50% Carniena, if you had maybe like an 80% Carniena, you'll have a little more spiciness to it.
What helps you decide what percentage you're going to use? So
based off the kind of blending and how it tastes, also kind of grapes and wine that's available to bottle. When we first started out, with our grapes and our from our farm in Utah, but a lot of people have a stipulation like, oh, wine from Utah, blah, I don't want to drink that. And it's just because there's not much known about Utah, even though Utah, in the area that we were at, was a huge, they call it like the Dixie wine area back in the 1850s and 60s. Mormon church had actually contracted a German winemaker to make wine for the church. And so that area was like 10 minutes down the road from where we were growing grapes. And so people think like, oh, Utah, like, really? You can grow grapes there? But the climate's great, similar to Northern California, similar to Paso area as well. But again, there's that stipulation, so breaking that barrier. So that's where some of the earlier wines we made were there. The wine and grapes that we source from now are from Paso Robles, California. But again, from then, when we first started, it was about, okay, what grapes and varietals do we have together that we can blend? And as we've grown, it's like, all right, we want to continue to make a good wine. We want to continue to stick what we originally had, but making sure like our GOAT production for 2018, it's a little bit different than the original production of 2016, has a little bit different varietals, but we want to keep the same grape varietals, same taste, but at the same time, as you make wine, there's going to be some differences depending on the rain, depending on the heat or lack of rain. If there's anything different that, you can't control Mother Nature. So that will play a part into how the grapes come to the finished product and then how they come in. Because if they're exactly the same every single year, things are being added to the wine to change it so it's a specific taste. But like a vintage should vary a little bit depending on what grapes and the weather and et cetera, et cetera.
So when you wake up in the morning, are you monitoring the weather? You're like, oh man,
It's a little rainier today. I don't know, I've got a lot of rain so far of the day. That's funny. No, I don't really monitor it too much. I'm more like, all right, what do I have to do for the business today? Like, let's positives. What do we have to do to accomplish?
Love it.
That's good. So what's something that you've been working on, either professionally, physically, mentally, just something that you're excited about?
Balance. So balance in work and life. So I talk a lot about that with the transformation challenge that I've done with, like, in terms of exercise and nutrition with First Form. Balance is huge. I think I tended to be someone that can go work all the time, which is great. But I'm trying to now balance work and like time off where I'm able to enjoy time with friends. When I was competing full time, it was hard to, not that I couldn't enjoy time with friends, but a lot of time was spent in the gym, making sure I'm preparing for that in and out of the gym. So now I'm trying to make sure I have a little more balance where I get to spend time with friends, family, see people. So balance, I would say, is the theme that I'm working on in both professionally and personally.
And teaching Entropy how to balance things as well, right?
Exactly. Perfect way. Good. Yes.
All right. What would you like to leave with listeners with?
I would say a mantra of mine that I try to remember every single day or in any venture, and that is to be accountable to your goal, whatever that is. Prepare what your plan of action is and how you're going to execute that to your goal. Review your work, see if something's efficient, not efficient, if it's working, not working, what do I need to do to adapt and grow. Be patient. Know that it's a process, know that it's going to take some time, and not get frustrated in that process, and to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, that it's going to take some time. It's not just going to be a straight line. There's going to be ups and downs and sideways turns and backwards, but that it's something to stop and enjoy the moment and be present about. That's something I try to make sure I remember myself and share with other people. So hopefully that will impart some inspiration to others out there listening.
And how can people find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at 321GO, GAUX. They can also find the GOAT Wine on Instagram as well. You can also find me on Facebook as well. And then thegoatwine.com for all wine and apparel shirts.
Well, we'd like to thank you for being on the show, but also there's a story that someone told me about you one time that I thought was very telling. So somebody else that I spoke with that was a games athlete, they said when they got there, they were new, and they didn't know what they were doing or what was going on. And they said, oh, but Margaux pulled me aside, and they're like, hey, do you need help with anything? Like, do you want to, this is how it works, and you give them the progression of it, and they said they felt a lot better after talking with you. But I think that story really speaks to how you are personally. I think that you're very humble, you're very good at taking care of people, and I can definitely see that. And when she told me that story, I knew that was very fitting for you. I thought,
that's amazing.
That's
well,
great
thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I'm grateful and thankful for you guys. So thank you for having me on. And I hope to inspire and help anyone out there in any form of fashion to whatever they're going for, personal, professional goals.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you
Margaux.
guys. Bye.
We'd like to thank you for listening to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the time with our guest as much as we did. It would help us out so much if you could share, subscribe, or review our podcast, or any combination of the three. Thanks again, and remember to take care of yourself.